Miss Imelda, how are you today?
And how are you, Cedric?
Today you spoke about civilization and some of the ideas of Adam Smith.
Yes, much has been written about civilization, where a large number get together dividing their labor up, according to their natural talents, so as to be best suited to do the work most efficiently. Agriculture is one of its primary aspects, and other necessities. As it advances, they work together to manipulate their environment for the good of all, for the short and long term. Jeremy Bentham, a British philosopher in the late 18th century, expresses that government should always pursue the greatest good for the greatest number. Unfortunately, this is something that is certainly sorely lacking in the United States today. His ideas were later expanded by John Stuart Mill in the mid-19th century. As time goes on, governments construct various tax systems, usually one that is graduated, that is to say, the more income you make, the higher percentage of tax you pay. Also, the prudent of society save money to provide long-term capital for large projects. It is extremely important to a society to not spend all of its money on consumption, but rather to set aside some for future large developments. Adam Smith, the father of capitalism, had a view about taxation that may surprise you. Did you know that Adam Smith said that one group in particular in a society should be responsible for most of the tax? What group do you think that would be?
I don't know.
Quite surprising to most who hear this is that Adam Smith said the one group that should be primarily responsible to pay most of the tax are the rich of the country. And why does he say this?
Why does he say this?
Adam Smith said essentially, because that is where the money is. Yes, that is where the surplus of society would be, and that is where the tax money should be primarily derived. But also he explained that it should be fair. His theory held that to maximize the wealth, all goods and services must move as fast as possible from hand to hand. The faster this process, the more wealth you have. The competition between workers in a fair-paying system is so keen that taxing them too much would remove discretionary income from all of the workers and ultimately slow down the movement of services and thus the wealth for everyone in the society. This loss of discretionary income is exactly what has been crippling America during this entire century. Curiously, Adam Smith did mention one other group that should be taxed.
And who would that be?
Why? The government employees. Because he said, they have a tendency, and may I say more than a tendency, to overpay themselves. The United States, as have most countries, has developed various forms of taxation. The U.S. income tax system is often widely criticized because it unfairly taxes the rich, which is curious because Adam Smith, again the founder of capitalism, says that they are the ones who should pay the most, but again he thought that the tax should be a fair tax. And if you look at the taxes paid in this country, including payroll tax, we surprisingly enough have a nearly flat tax. Yes, Cedric, a nearly flat income tax. If you look at the various groups who pay taxes, under what is called the effective rates of U.S. income taxes, one would find that the top 1% pay about 20.75% of their income in taxes, while the top 5% pay about 22.2%, and the top 80 to 95th percentile pay about 20%, the 60 to the 80th percentile pay about 18.6%. That looks like a flat tax or nearly flat tax to me, and one that is curiously almost never presented to the American people. What do you think, Cedric?
I would agree. Those groups are extremely close in the percentage they pay on combined payroll and income taxes. Quite interesting, and may I say quite surprising.
Now we get to the bottom 50%, and here is where the arguments start. It is reported in the media and expressed in the 2012 Republican campaign that the bottom 47% pay no taxes, while in truth only 17% paid no taxes. The bottom 50%, while earning 12% of the total U.S. income, paid about 4% of income taxes but paid 8% when payroll taxes are taken into account. And here is where we must get to the point about productivity and hourly wage. Adam Smith said that the invisible hand of capitalism, that is the millions and millions of transactions that are done by the millions of people in society, will fairly determine wages. But this can only be true in a real competitive market without monopolies. Well, look about you, and this has been quite important to me, and I must admit that at times I may sound much like a broken phonograph record. You have in this country a Defense Department that absorbs nearly 10% of the United States gross national product, and the government workers and retirees take 18% and healthcare 20%. Then you look at the bottom 75 million workers in this country and they share only 6% of the GDP. Common sense tells me that this is less than what that group produces. These workers are your retail clerks, telephone representatives, salespeople. They are the people that change your oil, wash your car, work your fast food outlets, your waiters, your cooks. They work at your hardware stores, grocery stores, drug stores, coffee houses, and are your truck drivers, delivery people, and on. Yet these 75 million workers receive only 12% of all of the payroll in this country, and only 6% of the gross national product. I think that the invisible hand has missed something here. These people, and may I add, the 20% directly above them, are far more productive than the compensation that they receive. This group is worth, in my opinion, as much as twice as much as what they are actually being paid. It is the unfairness and power of the monopolies around them, not their lack of skills or productivity, which are determining their low wage. That being said, if you count their unpaid wage as a tax, together with what they currently pay in tax, they are actually paying about 55%, yes 55% in tax, much higher than any other group. It is the rich who fear the confiscation of their wealth by the short-sighted masses, but it is the bottom 50% who have to live with not the fear, but the reality of the confiscation of their wages. I hope we live to see the day when our civilization will act for the greatest good for the greatest number by drastically reducing the cost of government wages and retirement, healthcare and the much too expensive defense program, so that the unseen hand of capitalism can function properly and create true fair wages for all.